Welcome back everyone to another video, and today I wanted to do a video going over some of the Chargers selections from the 2024 NFL Draft. It is kind of a new era in Los Angeles with, really a lot of their offensive players out, their coaching out. I got Jim Harbaugh in there now, and a lot of holes on really both offense and defense. Some of those were addressed in the draft. So I want to talk about what some of those picks look like and what it can mean for this year, because obviously the Chargers are in a very tough division with the Chiefs and all. So let's talk about all of it, starting with Joe Alt. So in my personal mock draft things that I did, I really thought the Chargers were going to go with Malik Nabers because they lost both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, even Joel Everett for that matter. And I want to say not Josh Palmer, but the other guy I always forget that I can't remember what his name is right now, but they lost him too. He signed with the Raiders. And so there's a lot of holes, again, on the offense and defense, but Joe Alt does fill a big team need. I basically, from what I've heard, is the Chargers kind of with the best player available approach, and they felt that Joe Alt was the best player available. And here's what I will say: if you are a Chargers fan and you are really hoping for a receiver, I get it. But, try not to stay optimistic, because this is not a bad pick by any means. Maybe it's not the most exciting pick for someone like Malik Nabers, who's like a major, playmaker and great receiver. But Joe Alt, don't get it twisted, this is an amazing pick for the Chargers. So according to the NFL's prospect grade scale that they do, he hits a 6.49, which means he will become a good starter within 2 years. Honestly, I agree with that. He's going to be a starter immediately, basically, there in Los Angeles. What I like to do, though, for this, and if you guys didn't see my video for the Panthers and Bryce Young, go check that out. I'm basically doing the exact same format as I did for that video for this one, because you guys really seem to like it. So for this, I like to look at the strengths and the weaknesses as far as the player's prospect profile goes, and hopefully this is centered enough for you guys and my face cam isn't blocking anything. Again, if you guys want to pause it, read through these, you can. I'm only going to highlight a few, but I do want to highlight the third down on strengths. It says adjust stride length and footwork to capture first contact with balance. That's very important at the next level, because I'm not saying, college football is easy by any means, but the skill gap between college and NFL, especially the edge rushers, when you get guys like Myles Garrett, have to go up against Max Crosby. I mean, those guys are fast, they are strong, and they are, they're professionals at getting to the quarterback. So being able to explode and stay balanced while making contact is a big deal for a tackle to be able to do that, especially for it to be one of his strengths going into the league in the first place. Also pretty cool, his dad, John Alt, was a Pro Bowl wide receiver, Pro Bowl NFL tackle, and brother Mark Alt was an NHL player. That's pretty cool. It just kind of runs in the family as far as professional sports. And again, some of the weaknesses, though, and what I actually kind of like about these are quite a few of them are things that can be coached and can be developed. It's not like there's really any natural things that are like a huge flaw he's going to have to overcome. It seems like he's a very well-polished prospect. And something else to highlight here, just in case maybe you didn't realize how big of a need this was. Since 2020, Justin Herbert, this is according to ESPN, I'm not making this up, he has been pressured 828 times since he came into the league. And that is the most during that period. So look, I mean, maybe it's not the most exciting pick, but Joe Alt is a great player. He fills a big team need, and he will likely be starting at, I think, right tackle is what it sounds like. Maybe left tackle, right tackle, I'm not really sure, but it sounds like right tackle. And I do like this a lot for the Chargers. And again, one more thing to note as well is if you were really hoping for a wide receiver at pick 5 or 6 or whatever it was, this was a very deep wide receiver class, and we're going to see that with some of their other picks we're going to talk about. So getting a really good O-lineman prospect to fill a need while also being able to go get another team need in a class that has a lot of talent, it's not the worst approach in the world. In my opinion, it's probably the smartest one. I don't think, again, maybe it's not the most exciting to bring in someone like Malik Nabers like you could have, but it might really help them out in the long run. So moving over from Joe Alt, let's talk about Ladd McConkey. So here's the thing as well, because again, wide receiver, very big team need. And actually, the Chargers did just sign DJ Chark from Carolina, where he was last year at least. So they do have at least another guy on there. But the Chargers wide receivers on their roster currently, not a single one of them have gone over 800 yards in their entire NFL career, except Chark in 2019, where he eclipsed 1,000 yards. That is the only exception. Otherwise, none of those guys have ever broke 800 yards. That's a big issue, but to be fair, you do have young guys like Quentin Johnston and now Ladd McConkey who still have time to at least develop and prove themselves, although to be fair, last year Johnston did really struggle with some drops. Hopefully, he can kind of bounce back from that, but not what you want to see in year one. So again, wide receiver is a big team need, team need for the Chargers. And again, that 800-yard thing I just talked about, it's very telling. But again, McConkey's prospect grade is a 6.40, which means he will become good starter within 2 years, basically the same as Joe Alt. But to come down to his strengths and his weaknesses, now what I like a lot about this is just looking this over. I mean, so let's start with the weaknesses this time actually. So it does say limited production in 2023 due to back and ankle injuries. As far as past injury, injuries dealt with and stuff, it always kind of depends on whether a player bounces back from not or whether it was just a one-off thing. I'm not going to read too much into that. We'll see how it goes this year. No, you don't want to hear that, but I'm not going to let that bring down my opinion on him because I think he's a really, really good player. What is interesting, though, is alarming number of deep ball tracking drops in 2022. Don't love that. Like I just said, Quentin Johnson also struggled with drops last year. So, that's one of the things where it's like, not looking good there. But to go to Ladd McConkey's strengths and you read this, slippery punt returner with the vision of a running back. That's very big for me because this guy is a playmaker. If you keep reading here as well, rhythmic route runner who keeps his feet under his pads for crisp cuts, difficult to keep him from uncovering due to route running ability. Those things are what really sells me on Ladd McConkey because Herbert's going to need someone that can get open and can take drag routes and crossing routes, 40 more yards, because it might not be one of those years where he's going to be able to kind of dice up the defense, go from progression to progression. He's not going to have a lot of options this year. I mean, we've already seen the receivers that they've signed. I doubt they sign any more other than Chark. So he doesn't have these huge receivers like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams that are capable of, making these big plays all over the field. You're really only going to have a couple guys, but McConkey's ability to turn some of those smaller plays the defense might give you into bigger plays, that could really set him apart, especially in this offense. And I would be shocked if he does not have a pretty big role early on in the season because of this. I think his ability to break smaller plays into 20-plus yard plays is going to set him apart. It's going to be huge for the Chargers offense because, again, you don't have guys like Austin Eckler out of the backfield anymore. You don't have Keenan Allen. You don't have Mike Williams. I wish I could remember the receiver they just let go because I cannot remember his name for the life of me. We don't even have Gerald Everett anymore either. So there's a lot of holes that need to be filled in this offense. And while it can't all be addressed in year one in this kind of rebuild, new era looking Los Angeles Chargers, we can definitely be able to see it trend in the right direction. And I think if everything goes to plan, Ladd McConkey is going to be one of those things that you can look at as a huge bright spot of the future of this offense with him and Herbert together. And also, I did show this in my last video, so I wanted to bring it back again for this one. The RAS score is the relative athletic score, which essentially kind of grades a player on how they do in the 40-yard dash, 20-yard split, taking their weight and height into account, and it basically gives them a composite score grading all that as far as their athletic ability. So I did want to highlight it because he did score very, very well. It scored from 1 to 10, so 9.34, that's pretty good. Obviously, not the biggest guy in the world, but when it comes to agility and it comes to speed, you can't ask for much more than this. So once again, just trying to use that to back up what I was saying before. Absolutely love his ability to turn smaller plays into bigger plays, his separation ability, his route running ability. It's going to be really, really big for the Chargers to get this guy involved this year and help him break open some of those smaller plays into much, much bigger ones. And I did want to keep this video relatively offensive heavy because there were just so many question marks on offense. And I know the Joe Alt thing did kind of surprise people without going receiver there. But I did just want to highlight defense, especially Junior Colson here. This is a guy from Michigan, so Harbaugh gets his guy he just coached now in the NFL. Again, this guy's second team all Big Ten last year and also led the team in tackles last year as well. And that's a championship team, so that's what you like to hear for sure. Prospect grade 6.37 will eventually be a plus starter. So again, to me, I like this pick a lot. This is the third round pick for them. I want to go down to the strengths and the weaknesses once again. In reading this, especially the strengths, it just sounds like a Harbaugh guy. Like, straps it up every game and is willing to play through pain. Modern day blend of speed and explosiveness at linebacker. I mean, I really, really like this for the Chargers. They also lost Kenneth Murray and Eric Hendricks in free agency, so there are spots that need to be filled in that defense, especially at linebacker. So again, I don't really know if he'll just kind of immediately come in and be a huge difference maker in year one, that is, but I do think he will definitely get some roles and some snaps in defense this year, and then in the coming season we can kind of see how that role changes and hopefully gets bigger for him. So I think this is a great player. Harbaugh obviously loves him for a reason. But yes, I really do like this pick for the Chargers here. And I wanted to keep it more offensive heavy because there were a lot of question marks there. But this guy is someone I do think could be a difference maker. Maybe not in year one, but I think he will definitely be a solid player in year one, assuming he gets a fair amount of snaps, which I think he will. And and then after that, in the coming years, I think his role will just get bigger on that defense. So I like to pick a lot there. I want to highlight him. And then I do want to finish it off with Brendan Rice. And so to be clear, this guy not really seen as a guy that's going to come in and light up in the NFL, to put it that way. He is graded as a 6.0 prospect grade, which is traits or talent to be above average backup. And I'm going to be honest, I like Brendan Rice, but that's about what I see him as well. I don't see him coming in and, tearing it up. And so you're probably wondering, well, why highlight him? Well, first off, it is Jerry Rice's son. So in case you guys didn't know that, I'm just going to throw it out there. I'd be kind of surprised if you didn't know that at this point, because I think it's always mentioned with him. So when I look at this as far as his strengths and his weaknesses go, it is pretty clear he is not going to be a Ladd McConkey type player. He's not going to be explosive. He's not going to be super quick. It is tough. It is tough to have a big role in the NFL when those are your major flaws. Has trouble gaining and maintaining separation underneath. Below average foot quickness and battles against tight press. So, it's not what you want. But to be fair, I did want to highlight this because, again, this is like, a 6th, 7th round pick. And also, they don't have a lot of wide receivers on this roster that I can see being much better than this, to be honest. So I just wanted to throw it out there because maybe this guy steps in and surprises some people. I don't know. I don't see him going for even 200 yards this year, but maybe he becomes a pretty good role player and, makes some clutch catches for him down the stretch. I don't really know. But again, I just want to highlight it because it does show the Chargers are trying to take shots at guys later on in the draft. Even a round after this, I believe in the 7th, they took another wide receiver, which I think was Cornelius Johnson. That might be way off, but I think that's what his name was. And so Brendan Rice's RAS score, again, it kind of lines up with what the scouts have been saying. He's not a crazy athlete, and it's probably going to hurt him. But you know what? I wanted to throw it out there because it shows the Chargers are still taking shots on guys. And because of their wide receiver room, he could get some snaps this year. I mean, assuming he makes the roster, I don't see the guys above him really that far ahead, which is a little concerning considering this guy's not the best prospect in the world. But to me, I'm going to assume Quentin Johnston improves a little bit and Ladd McConkey kind of takes over as like the wide receiver 1/2. And then you also have Joshua Palmer, who's pretty solid as well. And other than that, I don't see anyone else really that far ahead of Brendan Rice. So I wanted to include this because, again, he might get in. And you know what? If he's going to get in, maybe we can be familiarized with kind of his skills and stuff. Maybe things he needs to work on. I don't know. But I just want to make this video, guys, kind of going over some of these picks in this kind of new era for the Chargers under Jim Harbaugh. I really like this draft, to be honest with you. I like taking a shot on a guy like Brendan Rice later on in the draft. I like getting your guy from college who's a very explosive linebacker, very tough-nosed football player. Joe Alt, really trying to lock down the offensive line long-term, help protect Herbert, because, again, he's been pressured 828 times since 2020. Got to get that under control. I like picking a guy who can be there long-term. And then Ladd McConkey, a major playmaker who can transform this offense in a year where they might struggle a bit. So I like a lot for the Chargers. If you guys did enjoy the video, though, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I would like to do one for pretty much every team. So if you guys have a team you want to see next, we kind of talk about their upcoming season. It might be a little early for that. I'm trying to still kind of keep it somewhat draft focused. But regardless, let me know down below. Thanks for watching. I do really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.